The movie Roma is a masterpiece by Mexican director Alfonso Cuarón.
Welcome to Plain English, the podcast that goes at the right speed for English language learners. Listen now and read the transcript online at plainenglish.com. Now, here's Jeff, your host for today's episode.
I'm so glad I waited. I've wanted to see Roma since it came out on Netflix in the middle of December, but I waited until the absolute best moment, and it was so worth it. This isn't the kind of movie you just put on in the background or you watch while you're falling asleep. It's 2.5 hours, and you want to be ready to watch a great movie with all your attention. If you can manage that, you won't regret it. Welcome back to Plain English. You know, the episode we did about Lady Gaga in A Star is Born was one of the most popular episodes lately, so I thought I'd do another movie review, and I picked Roma to write about even before I saw the movie. I know it will be popular for all of you in Latin America, and I can't wait to tell you about it later on in the episode. The deal is going to be the same as last time. I'll tell you a little about what happens, but I won't reveal any major spoilers. I read some reviews of Roma ahead of time, and it didn't spoil my enjoyment of the film at all. So with that disclaimer in mind, let me give you just a couple of quick announcements before we dive in. Today is episode 120 for January 14th, 2018. So that means today's episode can be found at plainenglish.com/120. If you're new to the program, then you'll want to check out the instant translations we have online. Those are available from English to Portuguese, Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, French, and Italian. And if you're interested in getting some extra English practice, then check out our partner, Você. With just a couple of minutes a day, you'll be able to increase your vocabulary, improve your confidence. We all need more confidence in our second language, I think, and understand more English. So to check that out, go to plainenglish.com/learn, Learn, and check out all that Você has to offer. The first thing I'm going to tell you about is the movie, and then I'm going to tell you about Cleo, the main character. First, the movie. It's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, the Mexican director who won an Oscar for Gravity and who also won critical acclaim for Y Tu Mamá También, a coming-of-age movie about a road trip through Mexico. He also directed one of the Harry Potter movies. In Roma, however, he tells a semi-biographical story about his childhood in Roma, a neighborhood in Mexico City in the 1970s. He grew up in an upper-middle-class house with live-in servants, including a cook, a chauffeur, and Cleo, the jack of all trades, who is part housekeeper, part babysitter, part cook, part peacekeeper. The film is shot entirely in black and white and features absolutely no stars. In fact, Yalitza Aparicio, who plays Cleo, has never acted before. There is no musical score. The only music comes from songs playing on the radio, live bands marching in the street, and the general noise of the bustling city. If you've ever been to Mexico City, you know that the city needs no musical accompaniment. The city is its own soundtrack. I asked a few people what they thought about Roma, and I got mixed answers. 2 people told me it was boring, and although I don't agree, I do know why they said that. If you're looking for a movie that's full of action, where there's a complicated plot, where there's a lot going on, then this isn't the movie for you. The real strength of this film is the way in which it lets you empathize with Cleo. And there is a lot of downtime in the film in which Cuarón is inviting you to spend that time empathizing with Cleo, to feel her emotions along with her. There's a scene in which Cleo is sitting alone at the back of a movie theater, having been abandoned by her date. It would have been easy to show in just a couple of seconds of screen time what happened. The director could have cut to her sitting in front of the theater, abandoned. Instead, you're invited to experience her emotions with her. Nothing is going on except that you see her face looking around, the expectant glances she shoots toward the back of the theater, then the look of confusion as she sits outside, and then finally her acceptance of what happened. So much of the experience of this movie is in the scenery. Mexico City, especially during this time, is a rich tapestry of human activity, and Cuarón shows the city in minute detail. He shows how a big city can be both crowded and lonely at the same time. The house in which the story takes place is an upper middle class house, nicely furnished, but not lavishly so. It's not the caricature of riches and perfection that you see in some Mexican movies, but you are clearly in a wealthy but lived-in household. So now let me tell you a bit about Cleo. She is one of 3 live-in servants in a Mexican household, Cuarón's own home growing up. She is a mixed-race person from the southern state of Oaxaca. She's young. She appears to be in her early 20s when the movie is going on. She spends her days and nights caring for the family, cleaning up around the house, clearing dishes, answering the door, taking care of the kids. She is the one that the kids say te quiero to before going to bed. She is the one who wakes them up by singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider in Spanish. Cleo is at once part of the family and apart from it. There is a scene at the beginning of the movie in which the whole family, both parents, 4 kids, and their grandmother, are all watching a comedy show on television. Cleo is clearing the dishes from the living room. She kneels down to pick up a plate, and one of the boys puts his arm around her shoulder. You can see her relax a little, smile at a joke on television, and cover the boy's hand with her own. You can imagine that for a moment, at the end of a long day, she allowed herself to relax and enjoy being with the children that she clearly loves. And in just an instant, the mother asks her to bring her husband a chamomile tea. Over the boy's protests, Cleo gets up to fetch it. Her moment is over. There is another scene in which the children are telling their grandmother how grateful they are to Cleo for having bravely saved them from a dangerous situation. As the boys are telling the story of Cleo's bravery, Cleo allows herself a smile of pride. And then, mid-story, one of the boys asks her to bring him a plantain smoothie. Cleo finds herself on the receiving end of some complaints by the family and some outbursts of anger. However, the family treats her well when she needs it most. When she reveals to the family that she's pregnant, she expects to be fired. Instead, the family makes sure that she gets the medical care she needs, a gesture of kindness that was probably not common in Mexico at this time toward household servants. There is so much more I could talk about, but I don't want to give you any spoilers. Watch this movie when you have time to think about it, when you're not too tired. Enjoy the sights and sounds of the city and the life the family leads. There are a lot of nice details in the movie. The crowd scenes, for example, are convincing. The film portrays a student riot, which actually happened. It was the so-called Corpus Christi massacre. The movie they see in the theater was a popular space-themed film at the time. One of the children has a World Cup poster from 1970 on his bedroom wall. There are a lot of old cars from that period too. Roma is available on Netflix, and I highly, highly recommend it. I want to say hi to a couple of listeners today. First, Elif from Turkey, who is learning English as part of his studies and is really into learning languages. Mari left a review for us on Facebook. She said it's a great podcast, clear and understandable. Gracias, Mari. Jose said he used to listen to music when he was running, but now he listens to us. You know, he's not the first one. We get people all the time saying they listen while working out, while exercising. You can fill your brain cells and burn some calories at the same time. Elif, Mari, and Jose, thanks for being with us at Plain English. I want to mention one more time our partner Mosa Lingua, which has a lot of great resources on its website, which you can find by going to plainenglish.com/learn, LEARN, plainenglish.com/learn. The main program is their full online program that has great vocabulary training, audio, videos, exercises, all kinds of stuff. And they present it in a way that doesn't let you forget what you learned. It's called spaced repetition, and it really works. So if practicing more English is on your list of New Year's resolutions, then check out Mosa Lingua by going to plainenglish.com/learn. Okay, we're already a little long on this episode. I had a lot to say about Roma, so we'll have to make this part quick. I picked a word that's easy to explain, but you might not know it. JR didn't know it, so maybe you need to know what it means too. Your knees are the part of your body in the middle of your legs, the part of your legs that bend. When you kneel down, you bend your leg at 90 degrees and you support yourself on your knees. So in Roma, the whole family is watching TV. All the seats on the chairs and couches are taken. To the left of the couch, there is a dish on the floor. Cleo kneels down to pick it up when one of the boys puts his arms around her shoulders. She's kneeling down because there's nowhere to sit, but because she's on one knee, she's about at the same height as someone who's sitting. She's kneeling down. If it's cold outside and there's a fire in your fireplace, you might kneel down in front of the fire to get warm. If you want to talk to a child or maybe greet your dog and you want to do it at his or her level, you might kneel down to pet your dog or talk to a young child. If you are in church, you might kneel down in front of the altar. And depending on your denomination, you might kneel down for part of the church service in your pews. The pews are the seating area in a church. In the church I went to growing up, they had these soft padded things so that you could kneel down comfortably at the appropriate time without hurting your bony knees on the hard floor. There was quite a controversy in the National Football League here a few years ago where players would kneel down during the American national anthem as a way of protesting injustice by police. A lot of fans supported them, but others thought you should stand for the national anthem. They thought that kneeling down was a sign of disrespect. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I'm so glad to have you with us. Let JR and I know what you think about Roma. Oh, before I forget, JR wanted me to mention that Yalitza Aparicio is on the cover of Vogue, at least the Spanish language version. So look for that in your neighborhood drugstore or wherever fine magazines are sold near you. I was going to say, let us know what you thought of Roma, jr@plainenglish.com, and Jeff, Jeff, at plainenglish.com are our email addresses. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with another episode on Thursday.